What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. Maybe you could have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Oh my goodness. Speaking of entertainment, today on the program, Tara Kai Maines. Oh yeah, you know that name. Of course you know that name. She was on the podcast back in mid-September, but she's coming back on because she's got more to talk about. Big records, RiseUpTV, Nefarious Ways. Keep that in your head because we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. She's out of Canada. So, Tara Kai Maines. So excited to talk to her again. This week's shows. I have, 1.5 public shows. And this is how I'll explain it. My usual Friday night public show. It's the RAB at Conway, Arkansas. The video dance party, karaoke jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. Video dance party, karaoke jam. They got the full bar, the kitchen's open, pool tables, pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, I encourage you to check out the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the a.m. is when I'm there. But you can get there early. You can get there, have a snack. From what I understand, from what science has told me, the more you eat, the more you can drink. Hey, don't quote me. I think it's science. But drink responsibly, okay? Because we want you getting home, properly, safely. But it's always a good time at the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the a.m. And then on Saturday, after working till 12:30 in the a.m., get this, I will be set up in Conway on the corner of Old Military and Nutter's Chapel for the race. Yes, the Conway, Arkansas 26K race. They have a marathon every year, and I get to be there. This is the second time I'm going to be on that corner of Old Military and Nutter's Chapel. So come out. If you don't want to run, just come and sit with me and play some music. We'll play music together and dance and hype up the runners. But if you're feeling the athletic mood, I'm going to be dancing around. I won't be running, but I'll be dancing behind the turntables, the digital wheels of steel, and watching the runners go by. And, that's my job, is to hype them up. So I'm stoked to be a part of Conway, Arkansas's 26K, their marathon on Saturday. This Saturday, so stoked. And then that finishes, somewhere around 11 o'clock. So I have plenty of time to get to a wedding. I'm very excited. I get to go to a wedding on Saturday night. But unless you're invited, you cannot come. Oh, let me say one more thing about the race. It's a toga race. So if you do come and visit with me, wear a toga, all right? I don't know if I'm going to be wearing my white toga, my red toga. No, wait, the white toga, the black toga, or the red and white checkered toga. I don't know if anybody saw Animal House. I'm sure a lot of people saw Animal House, but one of the students was wearing a what do they call it? Gingham, like a toga made out of a tablecloth that you would use traditionally for a picnic. So maybe I'll find one of those, maybe. But I have the black one sitting right here next to me. I can probably just use that one. Toga, and run. But yes, I'm stoked. This weekend's going to be action packed. I have a wedding. Yes, very stoked about that. All right, that's enough intro. Let's get into it with Tara Kai Maines of Nefarious Ways, Big Records, RiseUpTV. I got her on Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version, I encourage you to check out the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/KeysDan. Skyping Tara Kai Maines now.
I'm here.
Well, look who's there. Tara Kai Maines in the house.
Hi.
Big Records, Rise Up TV, Nefarious Ways, agriculture, saxophone, biochemist, biogeneticist, singer-songwriter, and all around cool chick. What didn't we talk about last time? I mean, it's only been a short couple of months. What more do we have to discuss, Tara K. Maines?
Well, it's Tara Kai Baines.
I know. I just said it 3 different ways in a matter of one sentence.
Well, I have lots of new things that are on the go right now.
Tell me everything.
I'm very excited about those things. Well, first of all, I started working with Big Records, and I now get the opportunity to be part of the publishing team and talk to all these great artists, help to find out more about what their aspirations are, their goals are, and help them to connect with the right people. So I'll be helping other artists just like me. So it's a pretty cool experience, and it's a pretty cool opportunity.
How do you have any time? You're a biochemist. You've been feeding the people. We spent a majority of the hour talking about that last podcast, that you devote a lot of your time to finding new ways to grow and feed people. And you still have time to make music, to promote other people's music. How do you do it? Do you have 25 hours in a day? Do you have a time machine? How are you doing it, Tara Kai Maines?
Well, I have a really good team of people that I work with. So we've developed a really nice group of ladies that are part of the publicity team. And we share all of the contacts, all of our calendars, all the work responsibilities. And we just make sure that there's always somebody there for the artists, because the artists are the most important thing to Big Records. And I'm super excited to be part of Big Records in terms of both the management, but also brand new is that I'm also an artist with Big Records. So
yes, you
I'm
are.
Pretty excited about that.
Yes, you are. And I've been talking to a lot of the artists from Big Records. They're a team that, okay, I don't know how much they make off of any individual artist, and you don't have to disclose any of that. But I see that whatever it is, the artist is getting value from said pay, said percentage. If they take 5%, 10% of whatever sales, the old agents used to be, I get 10%, or, that used to be the thing if you had an agent. And if you got value to where you could still make a living off of that 90%, yes, 10%, well worth it. And I hope that, I hope everybody knows, everybody that's been listening to this podcast, any of the Big Records, the Big Records, people that I've been talking to have had great success with them. And I've heard horror stories about people signing up with agents and promoters and not getting their value back. What makes Big Records so good?
Well, Big Records is a little different than a traditional label. We don't give you an advance. We're not going to pay you, and therefore you don't have to pay us back. So it's a hybrid label of independent artists. And a lot of the people that are internal in the label are people that have had years of experience, and they're independents themselves. So most of the people that are inside Big Records have got their own businesses within Big Records. So it's not our goal to be the label that tells you, how to walk, how to look, how to talk, who you can talk to. When you're an artist with Big Records, you still have the freedom to be able to choose who you want to be. And not only do you get to choose people who you get to work with a great group of people who support you, encourage you to be the best you that you've ever been. And, it's been a very big development year for me to work with Big Records as well as agriculture. So it isn't so structured as a regular label would be. It's more, we will work with you and you tell us what you want to do with your career, and we'll help you to locate those right people within the label and make those connections, open some doors for you.
Yeah, before you were on the outside looking in. Now you're on the inside looking out and looking in at the same time. It's very quantum, and I just watched a movie with quantum in it. Yes, you're doing a whole. Yes, it's infinity. You're doing the infinity thing. For those listening to the audio version, check out the video because you'll see the lovely face of Tara Kai Maines right here next to me.
That's the DNA double helix.
That is correct, because you are a biochemist, geneticist. Absolutely. And that all flows together. It comes out in your music because, we're not just one thing. You have all kinds of different genres. We talked about that as well in great length, that you rap, you have opera, you play sax, you have Jenny Duham that you've been singing with, and you say that her singing style is very similar to her singing style. And I know that she was supposed to be on this podcast tonight, and I think she came down with something, and I'm so sad about that. But I'm glad to have you here, and I think you wanted to talk about new projects that you have going on with Jenny Duham, and you'll probably correct me because I pronounced that name once again 4 or 5 different ways in a matter of one sentence.
Well, it's Jenny Duham, and she's French, and so she's also classically trained in opera. So we do have similar training backgrounds, and it's really cool because when you can work with somebody, you can get the resonance and the frequency of your voice almost matching identically. It's an amazing experience to work with her. So I'm super blessed to have that opportunity. So I'm working on a few different projects right now. One of them is Tara Kai featuring Fear Escape with Marco from Italy, and he's our producer. And also Jenny goes by the name of JDP3. So that's coming up soon. So the release for that song is on November the 9th, and that's called Paris, and it's all about romance and, that Française acoustic cafe with romance in the air and cobblestones and beautiful, just really flirty, fun, some saxophone. We're singing in English and French, and how it all came about was that I asked Jenny to help me do some translation for some French on this song. And Jenny came on to the call, and Jenny was like, well, you could just translate it. You've done a good job of that. Or French people like to have a little bit more poetry. So why don't we make it more poetic and make the lyrics themselves sing as well? And I said, oh, that sounds lovely. I said, well, would you like to have some writing credits? She says, sure, that sounds good. And away we went. And she says, well, I also sing backups. And I said, oh, cool. She says, yeah, I do choir and I do opera. I'm like, oh, very neat. She goes, yeah, I sing in Chinese too. I sing in Mandarin. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you not do? So she's also part of the publicity team with Big Records as well. So I work very closely with her, both in music as well as professionally with supporting all the artists. So it's a really close friendship that we've developed in a very short period of time. And I'm super grateful.
Well, Tara Kai, I know English and Spanish, and I know that there's songs that are sung in English and songs that are sung in Spanish. And those subtle differences always tickle me. If you know 2 languages, you'll know that, maybe it wasn't said in quite the same way. For example, I heard a song, The Eye of the Tiger, on a movie, and I'm going to promote this movie because it's jam-fastic. It's called The Green Ghost. And it's on Disney now, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It might be Disney or Amazon, one of those two. But there's a song featured, the Spanish version of Eye of the Tiger, featuring Robert Rodriguez. Yes, the director, Robert Rodriguez. And, El Ojo del Tigre would be the correct translation, but that doesn't flow as well in the song. So I think it's like the essence of the tiger in Spanish rather than the eye of the tiger. Those little differences. I'm sure in French, when you're translating from English to French, you have to have those subtle differences as well. And does it tickle you? And the other thing that I heard from the last time was that Jenny might speak French just a little bit better, so you let her have the lead. You're not a diva. Oh my goodness, you work well with others. But tell me about your subtle differences.
We did that on purpose. We did that on purpose. I sang in French and she sang in English just to mess everybody up in the third verse. And then in the last part, then I sang in French and she sang in English again. So, yeah. And then she sang a little bit of French as well in the ending. So we mixed it up. And no, I wouldn't consider, because the way that I view music is that it's like a painting, and each person's got its own part in that painting. And although one painting might not have the same amount of color red as the other painting has got the color blue, the same for every single song I write or write with people, is that some songs focus on the vocals, some songs focus on the saxophone, some songs focus on the piano, and some songs focus on guitar. And I believe that actually creates more contrast and creates a better story for the song. So for example, Jenny, for the third verse, I said, man, you sing really well. We should just trade leads. And Marco goes, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm really sure. She does a great job. And why wouldn't I want Jenny to sing lead? Because then I can play sax underneath her, right?
It's a good leader that knows how to hire.
I found out
yes.
Even cooler than that, I found out she plays fiddle. And what I'm really looking forward to is doing a project with the saxophone and the fiddle and the new band. And of course, the new band that we put together for performance is Tarakai and Nefarious Ways. And it's always been my dream to write the song called Sax, Violins, and Keys, Please.
Okay. I have a local talent here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's called Cliff and Susan. He plays the fiddle and she plays the keys. And there is a song called Fiddle and Keys. I do appreciate that when people find a muse in simple. It's the simplest thing. Okay. If I'm playing the fiddle and you're playing the saxophone, doesn't it make sense to write a song based on those two different things? Now, if she's classically trained in opera, I would have imagined that it's not a fiddle, it's a violin. I know it's the same instrument. It's just played differently. Is that right? Is it the same instrument, or is it just tuned differently? What is that?
It's the same instrument, but she was trained classically, but she's also Quebecois and Montreal, so she was also trained in the kitchen, which means that if you're Canadian, we all get in the kitchen and we sing and we play. So she was brought up in a very musical household where she was playing fiddle with her relatives, but she also studied violin. And it's interesting because now she's got to break all those great habits of violin and play fiddle with me, right?
Well, I guess it's just the way that you pluck it, right? Pick it. I don't know much about the violin, but I like watching, Charlie Daniels, of course. He's probably my first taste of fiddle, when I was growing up in the 70s, watching Charlie Daniels, even on a music video in the 80s. And you're like, wow, that is pretty cool. And then, going to shows where you see violinists and the differences.
I had originally scheduled this interview for Jenny.
Yes.
And then she wasn't able to make it. Correct. So then I invited Warren, but then he wasn't able to make it. So here I am.
Here you are. I'm very happy about that.
But so I wanted to talk a little bit about the new band, Tarakai and Nefarious Ways.
Please.
It's a really cool experience. So this is going to be our performance band. And I'm working with some exceptional talent. Warren Nichols is on keys. And on our new song we wrote called Kiss Me Quiet, and that's already out. It's called Kiss Me Quiet, and it's a really cool song. It's kind of country soul. So he's singing a lead part.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like a first male part, but right with me. And it's really turned out nice. It's like a big warm hug before going to bed, right? Kind of song. And I'm really excited about the way that it turned out. It started out just as a scratch track with acoustic guitar, drum kit, and my vocals. And my band has done some amazing things with it. So I had Warren Nichols, and he laid down the male vocals, the Rhodes piano, the Hammond organ, the real piano. And so when you've got those three instruments and it's kind of meant to be like a warm, fuzzy hug. Well, unfortunately, that actually buries a lot of the other instruments because of the way that it just came out. It was just like, oh my gosh, it was just delicious. And we have some nice drums in there. We've got one of the greatest bass players. We've got Frizzy Man playing the bass plate, and we have BB Lee. And I'm really excited that BB Lee was able to do the guitar on it. But BB Lee and Frizzy Man, they're not right out in front, but they will be in another song, right? Especially when they redo Chasing Rainbows with me, which is guitar front and keys back, right? So, you got to have a little bit of variability in the band. And I'm super excited about this because Frizzy sings, BB Lee sings, Warren Nichols sings, Jenny sings, and I sing, right? And then looks like we might even be able to get Paul Linney to do some drums for us. So that would be really sweet as well. But the thing that really gets me going is if we're doing like we're trying to do more of a country kind of project, like an outlaw country, Southern rock, soul project. And with all of these great vocals, we're going to go back and revisit Tara Kai's music and restructure them with the band. And you never know, maybe one of my old songs that I was singing lead on, maybe I'll just give that to one of the guys and I'll just honk on my saxophone for a while, and maybe Jenny and I will do some sax and fiddle work and we'll let the guys sing it, right? So it's kind of fun to be able to have that freedom when you've got so much talent in your band that you can just say that, like, I don't want to be like the person that's the center of the band. No. Tara Kai Nefarious Ways is its own entity. 100%.
Yeah, I like
its own entity.
I like that you're name checking all the members of your band, giving credit where credit is due, letting us know that there's other people besides Tara Kai in there. And you're talking about, I just heard yesterday while I was riding around in the car, ELO's version of Xanadu. And I was thinking about Olivia Newton-John. I'm like, it's so off-putting. And my family agreed. It's so off-putting that it didn't have Olivia Newton-John. But then it's ELO. Come on. I love ELO as well. So their takes on it. So I could see different members of the band, if they have the ability to sing, let them sing. It'll give the audience something new and something different to listen to rather than the same old, same old. Like, for example, I do a show every Friday at the same place, at the same time, every Friday. I encourage them every once in a while, not too often, but every once in a while, have somebody different on a Friday. Because as good as I think I am, I'm still the same guy, giving the same show. Maybe I'm playing different music on different Fridays, but it's still me. The personality is me. So you are a front person, but you're okay dropping to the back. I get it. I like it.
Yeah. Because it makes better music. The other thing that I also really am very grateful, there's two more people that I'm really grateful for. One of them is John Dean. John Dean has been writing with me for 30 years now. Started just...
for 30 years now?
30 years ago, yeah, we started writing, and he was my piano teacher. And then I took opera training and voice lessons, and I started playing in an all-girl band. And I played all around town with an all-girl band, and we called ourselves a death lounge act. And I would go out in my formal ballroom dress, and I would sing kind of like how would you say, like a cross between heavy metal and jazz. And we called it Death Lounge. And, I'd get up on the stage and I'd be screaming and then I would be purring and I'd be roaring. And I was able to use a lot of the saxophone techniques that I've used on my voice. So I could make a really cool monster voice too, just like Taylor Momsen, right?
Well, I mean, but playing saxophone, does that help you to develop your lungs? Does that go hand in hand with your singing ability as well? Can you carry notes simply because you've trained on the sax as well?
Yeah, actually I can. I actually can do different things that singers cannot do. So for example, I can do circular breathing, which means that I can be breathing in through my nose and singing out my mouth at the same time. And an example of that vocal technique you'll see in my song called My Love, Mi Amor, Te Amo Más, where I actually am breathing in and singing at the same time. And that gives this wonderful rolling legato that you just can't get unless you know how to do saxophone. And I've also had critics claim that I cannot.
Critics claim that you
I
cannot.
use my voice. I use my voice the same way I would use my saxophone. So I do the circular breathing. I can growl my voice. I can rasp my voice. I can monster my voice. And I can do all these really cool techniques because I play the sax. Now, the one thing that I did have to do is instead of engaging my diaphragm, I have to back off because I can overdrive my vocal cords. Because I'm actually playing saxophone since I was 14. It's made me really, really strong. And then I work in agriculture, so I'm lifting, 50-pound bags of fertilizer and seed and whatever, and I can swamp my truck 6 times. So that means I can put, 1 ton on and 1 ton off, right? So I can swamp it 3 times. I can go 6 times on, 6 times off by hand. And then after that, I don't do anything. I come home and I put my feet up.
As well, you should. You deserve to rest.
I surprised somebody when I took a dining room table to the garbage dump one time because it was broken. Somebody, a dinner guest, had used a steak knife and wrecked my finish, and water had gotten into it, and it was destroyed. And so I picked it up off of my patio deck, and I lifted it around the corner downstairs, and I put it in my pickup truck, and I did it all by myself. I got to the dump, and somebody was going to help me. And he went to help me, and he's like, "You move this by yourself?" And he had to get a friend to help me move it off my truck. It was about 250 pounds that I'd lifted down there just around the corner, right? Mm-hmm. Or I had a friend, and they were like, "Well, can you bring us some bales of hay for Halloween?" I'm like, "Sure." I put them in the back of my pickup truck, and I'm standing out there, and I'm, just a regular day for me. I'm just standing on the back of my pickup truck. I pick up the bale, and I go and I go to throw it, and he's like, and he tried to catch it, and he had to move out of the way because he couldn't catch it, right?
Well, there's different kinds.
Oh man, here, let me move that for you.
There's different kinds of strong. I mean, you can be a bodybuilder, you can go work out in the gym, or you could be country strong, working on a farm.
I'm country strong.
Exactly. Baling hay, feeding chickens, and walking through mud and muck, trying to take care of pigs or chasing animals around. Yeah, you can get country strong, working different kinds of muscles. These city slickers coming out to the country, trying to figure things out. It's fun for a weekend, but I don't know if they'd want to do it for a full-time job. And I like sitting here in my chair, but I do like going out on the streets as well. I drive around quite a bit. Now, you mentioned something, and it ticked a memory of mine back in the 80s and 90s. I'm on terrestrial radio. And I'm looking for fodder. Before you announce a song, you want to tell the people something interesting about the artist. And you mentioned circular breathing. And one of the things was when I was reading about Kenny G, the man, the legendary Kenny G. That was the first time I heard about this the circular breathing, where you could hold a note conceivably forever as long as you live, because you're breathing at the same time as you're putting air through that instrument. It's an incredible. Can a lot of people do this? Is this a rare thing? How did you learn how to circular breathe? I only breathe in and breathe out. How did that happen?
The saxophone. When you play the saxophone, you will have to use more air than you can possibly take in one breath. So you have to learn how to suck the air through your nose and blow out through your mouth at the same time without interrupting that airflow. And, when you apply that to singing, you can come up with some really cool voice effects. And I had never done it before I sang that song, My Love, I Love You More, Mi Amor, Te Amo Más. And when you employ it on a opera note, it really creates a different warmth and caring and love and longing and yearning. And it was a really cool effect. And it was like, oh, I like that. That sounded cool. I'll have to remember how to do that in the future. But the saxophone, having learned the saxophone and singing, now let me tell you, I can sing through that baby now, right? So now I can use my singing to play the saxophone better. And you're going to hear that in Paris when that's released on November the 9th, because you will hear the tone of that saxophone. So I can get the reed resonating just like I'm singing, right? And my reed controls 100% the pitch. I have no way to control the pitch to be in tune and on time except for my bottom lip, right? I've got a hard brass mouthpiece, so that's stationary, and then everything down here is fluid. So I can make it just emote like I'd never been able to make that saxophone emote prior to learning how to sing. So, being able to hold a really long note, but then to be able to make that note different during that note, right? So that the long notes become even more beautiful than the number of notes going around it. And then to be able to have that be I love the way that Paris turned out, because it's about yearning. It's about wanting love. And the saxophone has got that magic. And, Mariko pulled that magic right out. But now I'm going to go to the next part of the conversation. The other new person in my fold is D-Ray, the producer. And D-Ray, the producer, is from Blast Radio. And I'm super excited to have had the opportunity to meet D-Ray and to have D-Ray work with me, right? So D-Ray did the mastering and mixing for Kiss Me Quiet. And then he heard Patty, and he's like, oh, I can see a house mix coming up. And so we had a phone call just this morning. And D-Ray met Mariko from Fear Escape and JDP3. And now we're going to do another project, and it's going to be a house EDM remix of some of my old songs with some of the old stems. It might be a house EDM remix of some of the new songs with Tara Kai, Nefarious Ways. It just depends on what it is that D-Ray wants to remix and try something new with. So we're calling that project, it's got a funny name, right? It's going to be FJDT. So F for Fear Escape, D for D-Ray, J for Jenny, T for Tara, right? But it kind of makes a funny acronym, FJDT.
Absolutely. And you know what's good about having a remix like that is it's good for us DJs who play at different types of events, different types of clubs. I can't play country at every place that I go. I can't play techno at every place that I go. So it's nice to have those remixes that still get attributed to you when people come up to me and go, who is that playing? I'll say it's Tara Kai, it's Nefarious Ways, it's JDP. And when Jenny Duham becomes JDP3, is there a switch that turns on? Does she become a different person? Because
she takes her glasses off and she puts her hair down.
Oh my gosh, she was beautiful all the time. Just like in an 80s movie. Oh,
Carter, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
It's like Linda Carter, right? When she turned into Wonder Woman. Off the glasses come, the hair comes down, she spins around, and then all of a sudden, there's JDP3.
JDP3. Oh my goodness, yes. I always thought that was a fun movie trope. Okay.
I love that.
She was beautiful with her hair up and the glasses. What makes her more beautiful with the hair down? It's fun. It's just fun. You gotta have different ways.
It just matches because we've got different. Like I've got long blonde hair and she's got long brunette curly hair, and so it's just kind of a neat, fun thing that we've got going on together on the stage. So you wouldn't expect such a big voice to come out of her. She's amazing. But she's also somebody that can, be soft and gentle. She can be big. She can be, she's dynamic. She does amazing choir choral arrangements. So she does some beautiful, beautiful choral backups for us. And I'm excited to have her work with Nefarious Ways, because we've got my vocals, we've got her vocals, got Warren's, I got Frizzy's, I got BB Lee's, and I probably have Paul Linney's in there too, right? So, what we did in the past with the choral arrangements that I did with John Dean.
We did with John Dean?
John Dean is the person that wrote the songs with me originally. So John Dean will always be writing songs with me, right? I'll always continue to write songs with John Dean, right? But I'm also going to take some of those songs and we're going to make them Tarakai Nefarious Ways, or maybe we'll make them FJDT songs, or maybe I'll work with, and we've got another 2 songs working with Fear Escape. So I've got 2 more songs for a 3-song electronic play with Fear Escape. So that'll be Tarakai featuring Fear Escape and JDP3. And, I'm really grateful that all these great musicians play well together. So, for example, Fear Escape and JDP3 have agreed to let Tarakai Nefarious Ways re-perform those, do those performances, and to be able to play those live and change them however we would like, right? Same as John Dean, right? So it's a collaboration. And John Dean, when he heard Kiss Me Quiet, is like, oh, that's way different than I imagined it would turn out. But I like it, he says. I like the Rhodes piano. I like the Hammond organ. I like the keys. He did a nice job, right? And so in today's day and age, more is actually better, because you've got different sounds. Some of the ideas that Warren had for the song are ideas that I never could have thought of without Warren doing those ideas for the songs. The same as the backups. That was Jenny Duham and JDP3. She had some crazy cool choral background. But then D-Ray, the producer, came in and said, well, wait a second, you wrote this with Glenn Kane. I said, yeah. And because Glenn Kane was also part of Big Records with us. And he was a mentor and a very close friend of mine. We were having a discussion, a spirited discussion. And one day he says, well, Lordy, what will I ever do with you? And I said, I don't know. If I had a husband, maybe he'd kiss me quiet and hold me tight. And I said, and then the phone just went silent, right? Just completely silent. And I said, that's my line. I own it. I said it. And he goes, songwriting doesn't work like that. I said, if you want it, you have to write a song with me. He says, fine. I said, fine. Okay. When do you want to write it? He says, okay, well, how about July the 17th? I said, okay, we'll sit down, we'll have a glass of wine, and we'll write a song. And so we did. But he wrote half of the first verse of Kiss Me Quiet, and he wrote the third verse of Kiss Me Quiet, and I wrote the rest. And then I'm like, well, come on, Glenn, are you going to get your band to play this? And are we going to release this? Like, is this going to be a real collaboration? And then he's like, no. And I said, okay, fine. Then I'm going to take your verse out and I'll rewrite it. So I rewrote it. But then unfortunately, Glenn had a heart attack on August the 24th. And he passed away on September the 2nd.
Yeah.
And so I'm really grateful that my band pulled this together to commemorate a great man, Glenn Kane.
Yeah.
And
still sad about Glenn Kane's passing for sure, and oh my goodness. I know we talked about that on the last time because it was fresh. We only talked on the 12th of September, and that was, just very recent that had happened already. I'm sorry, say again.
Short period of time.
Yeah.
So many things have changed in such a short period of time. It's hard to believe how much influence Glenn Kane had on Big Records, not just in the business, but also in all the personal relationships within Big Records. And I'm really glad that Glenn Kane was a special friend of mine. But, the song really is meant to commemorate a special person and a special man. And, his portion of the song is going to be donated to the Keith Whitley Foundation. So I do hope that it does well so that, his memory can live on.
Yeah. He had the age and the wisdom that he brought to the table. Now, you talk about collaborations, from someone on the outside looking in. whenever I think about collaborations, I really cannot visualize it until now. I just finished watching the first and second part of the Beatles Get Back on Disney Channel. And yeah, here I am promoting something again that they have nothing to do with me, but I'm watching this Get Back that was whittled down from 60 hours of rehearsal where they were making their final album, Get Back. And now I can visualize when people are collaborating. Is that something that you still do? Do you still get in the same room, or is it all online? Do you even have to be in the same room in this electronic age, kind of like we are doing right now, where we're hundreds, thousands of miles away from each other and collaborating, and exchanging ideas? Do you get in a room with somebody and try to write a song still?
Absolutely. I still get in the room with John Dean. And John Dean and I have a really great writing relationship. And, even though I am collaborating with Nefarious Ways and Fear Escape and doing those projects, we still talk about the projects, and he helps me a lot. He's a great friend of mine. When I did Petty, I took a couple takes on the saxophone, and he's like, he says, I don't like any of those. I'm like, I know, right? And he's like, well, can't you funk it up? And I said, no, it doesn't want to be funked up. It wants to have a nice long legato line. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do it my way and just hit record. And then I hit this magic. I don't know. I hit this magic, and it was just like that. Right. So John Dean and I would get in a room, and when John Dean and I write together, we're in the same room, we create a lot of magic, a lot more magic than we do when we do it over the Zoom or something like that. But we still Zoom, and we collaborate that way. Jenny Duham, well, she's in Montreal, and BB Lee, well, he's in Florida. Maura Nichols was in Carolina, I think. I'm not sure. Frizzy's in Arizona, and Paul Linney's in Florida. And D-Ray, our producer, is in North Carolina. And Fear Escape, well, he's in Italy, so he's a long ways away. So you can collaborate effectively online these days. And it just takes a little bit of give and take, right? Not everything that you're going to do is going to be brilliant. And you have to be able to be honest enough, and you have to be a person that's a team player enough to accept direction and say, oh, maybe that wasn't the best way to do that. Maybe I should try this another way, right? But you also have to be strong enough that if a song is something that is really true to what it was meant to be, like, for example, the Kiss Me Quiet, it's what it was meant to be. I wanted it to be a country song. It turned into a country soul song. And I think that it was the way that it was meant to be. Some songs are just meant to be certain ways, and they come out the way they're meant to come out.
Yeah, with all these people all over the world, all over the planet, how are you going to get together and tour anywhere? Are you going to be able to, or do you have to have a touring band that'll play with you, wherever you go?
Tara Kai and Nefarious Ways is my touring band.
Okay.
And we're really looking forward to. So Tara Kai and Nefarious Ways is really looking forward to getting a chance to get into the studio together. But we're also going to be performing live, and it might be that we perform live a little while and then we drop some new EPs when we really gel into our sound together. But yeah, that is going to be a touring band, and I'm excited to start touring with them as soon as we can get ourselves organized. But of course, I do work for big records, and so does Jenny, and so does Paul Linney. So we're all very busy trying to make sure that our other artists are doing well at the same time. So it's a busy schedule,
It is.
We've got a new tour coming up. We've got the Rise Up concert series in Nashville. So November the 7th, we've got Nashville, 3rd and Lindsay. November the 8th, we're going to be at, where are we going to be at? Oh, come on, Tara. We're going to be at Chattanooga at the Songbirds Foundation. November the 9th, we're going to be at Duluth, Georgia. And that is going to be a great experience. Then on November the 10th, we're going to be in Danbury, North Carolina. And on November the 11th, we're going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Free Brewing experience. So it's a really great opportunity to meet some great artists whom I really look up to. I've got Bruce Coughlin playing, and he's just an amazing artist. He's been playing for like forever, right?
Good
And he's got,
dude.
master fiddler Nolan Murray playing with him. And they've got Stephen Kay. Stephen Kay is going to be performing as well, and he's just a spectacular performer. You're going to love his performance. There's also Ronnie Cow performing, Sarah Smith performing, and Tim Steinreich from Vancouver, British Columbia is also performing, but he's going to do more of an acoustic country unplugged version of his rock hits. So it'll be a great experience for everybody that's going out. And there's a large number of guest artists who are being called out and that are going to make appearances. And, you don't want to miss that, right? And we've got the Rise Up TV tour bus going with everybody. And so, of course, there's going to be a Rise Up TV YouTube or Netflix, hopefully, kind of series that will emerge from this, where you can actually watch what goes on behind the scenes and see some of the faux pas that go on the bus that maybe you don't get a chance to be privy to. Or maybe when we're out and we're performing, we might catch something that you do in the audience, and it might become part of our show too. So, you'll never know if you can be part of our show and be on the Rise Up TV tour unless you come on out. Now, of course, it's available online as well, so you can stream the November the 7th event. And we're going to be doing a charity fundraiser for the Keith Whitley Foundation. And of course, everybody who knows Keith Whitley and the Keith Whitley Foundation knows the good that they do for the kids. And we're all very grateful for all of that.
Fabulous. Now, hey, you mentioned Ronnie Call. He's somebody that's coming up on the podcast, and I'm kind of excited because I like his look. He looks like a real healthy, meaty guy like me, and he sings pretty cool. I mean, he's got that look that the kids are loving with this country thing. Like what do they call it? Red dirt or outlaw country, that kind of a thing. So I'm kind of excited about that. But okay, I want to get it straight. Not just for me, but also for the listener. I'm guessing the Nefarious Ways band, are these the people that are all over the planet that are coming together? Or is this local people, local to you in Alberta, Canada, or in somewhere in that area?
Well, it's Tara Kai and Nefarious Ways. Mm-hmm. So we are a band, and every one of us is very important. Although my name's in the name, that's only because people know who I am, and we want you to be able to find me, right? So I'm part of the band.
Yes.
Okay.
But are they all local to you?
So no, it's
mm-hmm.
It's not all about me. No, we're not local. It's Jenny Duham is from Montreal, Quebec.
Okay.
Tara Kai, I'm from White Rock, British Columbia. Bibi Lee is from Florida. Paul Linney is from Florida. Warren Nichols, I believe, is from Georgia or Carolina. I'm not actually sure quite yet. And we also have Frizzy Man, who is from Arizona. And so when we're on tour, of course, home will be the bus, and we'll be wherever the band goes together. We'll be like our family, right? So I'm looking forward to that experience. And there's a couple of us that have dogs that are coming with us and on the road. So, we've got that as well. And I believe Warren's wife might come with us too. And, she does some amazing things. So she might integrate into our project somehow. We'll see how that all unfolds, right? But, some of the best things in life come from the most surprising starts.
Oh, yes. It's good to have these extra people around, not just the people in the band. And I did want to know that, there was the people that you were discussing earlier. You name dropped them or name checked them, and they're all coming to the Southeast, and you're going to be doing a tour around the Southeast in November. And I'm excited for the people that live close to those areas. So stoked.
No, we're not going to be out there in November yet. We haven't set a tour date because we're still supporting the Nashville tour. So I'm not on the Nashville tour. That's the Big Records tour. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be on the next Rise Up TV tour. That's a goal, right?
Yes. Yes, please. Now, the last time at the end of our podcast, you discussed that maybe you were going to be moving to the States. Is that something that's still in the cards? Do you have an idea of where you want to go, or are you going to stay put?
Well, I had discussed moving to Nashville, but I'm not exactly sure that I've made a decision to actually move yet. And I think perhaps maybe I might just stay in British Columbia and then just be able to go on tour with the guys and see where we go from there, right? It's kind of a liberating experience to just say, I don't really know where I want to go next.
Well, you said with this internet,
in British Columbia.
Yeah, with this internet, you don't have to go anywhere. You can do it from anywhere you have internet and a laptop, and you can pretty much collaborate with people and get the rehearsing part. How do you rehearse with people all over the world? Do you send them? Zoom has lag. There's always lag. Even on this Skype, we've had some lag where you've had to repeat things, and hopefully the listener is forgiving of this technology. I know I've had to be very forgiving, but I do appreciate learning from you, Tara Kai. But how are you able to rehearse with people all over the planet?
Well, you can drop your wave tracks into many different Pro Tools on the computer, and then you can standardize a beat so that you don't lose any of the beat and the connection for, transferring stems over from person to person. And, for the one that we did for Nefarious Ways and Kiss Me Quiet, well, we started off with an acoustic guitar track, an acoustic bass, and drum track, and my vocals on it. And my vocals were complete. They went over to Warren. Warren put his stems on it. Those stems went over to Jenny. Jenny put those stems on them. Then Frizzy did his stems on Warren's. And BB did his guitar on the original that had my voice on it by itself. And our producer, D-Ray, just, he did a phenomenal job on being able to quantize everybody and everything else and drop everybody in the right place. And, one person had a click in, like a 1-bar click in to get the tempo. Nobody else did. So sometimes, so we had to make some adjustments that way too. So, there's little things that come up when you're doing a collaboration across the internet and working with stems. But, you can do them on your own, and I can do my stems on my own laptop. But generally speaking, I go to John's studio because a saxophone and a voice need to have the proper recording equipment. And I need to be able to have somebody that hits play and I don't get involved so that I've got my hands on my instrument and I'm ready to go. Right. But because I got to blow. I got to blow my horn, right?
Yeah, you got to get yourself in the right headspace. It's good to have a good producer that can put all this together. Your D-Ray producer is, I'm sure his job, he's got his hands full trying to get all these tracks together and make them sound proper, mixing and mastering. Yeah. This is something that I've had to dabble in, where I can make a good demo for someone that they could send out to somebody that may be trying to hire them, a cafe or a club or something. I can make a good demo, but to have somebody that can mix and master different pieces, different elements, put them all together, make them click right to where the beat is proper on all these instruments, because you're going to be playing in slightly different tempos if you're not in the same room. Am I right?
Yeah, the tempos can change. So you have to make sure that you're quantized to the correct tempo. And to go one step further, John Dean actually does record my takes, but he also produces them somewhat so that they're somewhat consistent. And but they do go out dry. They don't go out with any effect. And that is actually my voice. Yeah, it's not prettied up at all, and that's the job of the producer D-Ray to do that on the other side.
Absolutely. I mean, people go, I don't use auto-tune. Hey, everybody uses auto-tune of some kind. Even before auto-tune was invented, there's tricks you could do with the reel-to-reel and the tapes to slow them down, to speed them up. I used to do that. I know how to splice tape. I know how to make a voice sound slower if I need that for commercial or for the singing. I can slap the tape to make it echo a little bit, to make the voice sound fuller. So all these little techniques.
John Dean's got a really cool setup in that he likes to, he's a really fun person to work with. He really appreciates the antique styles that we used to have, like with the tube amps and stuff like this. And, he really appreciates that old school kind of thing. And he always gives me one solid state, one tube, whether it's the compressor that's a tube or the microphone that's the tube. That's his call for whatever song it is that we do. That's not up to me. That's up to him. He does that. And I'm grateful that he does that because I don't have a clue what he's talking about.
I mean, as long as you keep the raw tracks, you can add effects as needed and go, hey, I like the way that sounds, or I don't like it. As long as you keep that raw track in a folder by itself that you can still play with. It's neat. You can put the tubes. It can all be done digitally now. It's not.
That's correct.
It makes it bigger, better, faster, more. If you want to put a song out in a day, you can conceivably record it in the morning, and by the afternoon, you as long as you have the right team putting it all together. And some people can do it all by themselves. There are those few musical geniuses that can sing, play every instrument. And that's
John Dean.
Oh, yeah,
that's John Dean.
Believe it,
John Dean. If you listen to the stuff that I've done originally with him, he's got the original stuff that we did many years ago. He plays the piano, he plays the organ, he plays the drums, he plays the guitar, he plays the bass, and he does vocals as well with me. So John Dean really is, amazingly talented, and I'm super fortunate to have had the experience to have worked with him for 30 years. But he's what I would consider to be a musical genius. I can throw things at him and he'll run with it. But then we have a give and take relationship in which we're more like sister and brother. I can say something and he'll throw it right back at me, right? Like I went into the studio one day and my makeup was a little heavy because I woke up late and I didn't have any power. The lights were out or something like that. I don't remember what it was. But I walked into the room and he's like, "Did you put your makeup on with a broom? It is so thick," right? And I mean, he would do stuff like that with me. Or like when we did Do the Wag and I brought in one of my dog's squeaky toys. And I said, "Okay, here's the percussion. I want you to sample the squeaky toy, please, for the dog song." And he's like, "Are you serious? I've gone to school, I've gone to college, and you want me to sample a dog toy as a percussion instrument?" He says, "Okay, fine, we'll do it." And so he sampled it, and then he tuned it so that it was pitch correct for our song, right? And along and doing percussive noises.
Mm-hmm.
So he's squeaking along and he's doing percussive noises with the squeaky toy. And so when he's finished, he throws the squeaky toy at me and he goes, "I bet you're going to tell me now you didn't even wash it first." And I said, "Oh, of course not. That's half the fun, right?" And he's like, "Oh, right."
But it's those little sounds, those little interesting sounds that become the part of the song that make it the most interesting. Once again, I'm going back to the Beatles with their Maxwell's Silver Hammer and their producer banging on a piece of metal for that silver hammer sound. And Coldplay back in 2008 when they were doing the Viva La Vida song, and they're banging on a bell, a big giant church bell, bang, bang, just those little sounds that you wouldn't find. It's not a guitar, it's not a bass, it's not a drum, and it's not a keyboard. Your standard 4 instruments that you would hear in a modern band. It's something different. Or
the sample.
Yes.
The sample in Rise where you've got like a knife on the sharpening blade and it sounds like 2 swords.
Yes. People used to play the saw. I'm here in the deep South in Arkansas. So people play the saw and the jug and washboards. That people play those instruments.
The spoons. Don't forget the spoons.
The
'cause that's
spoons.
from Nova Scotia, eh?
Well, when I was a kid, I would annoy my mother to no end, pulling out all the spoons out of her drawer. My brother and I, and my sister playing spoons. Well, you've dirtied every spoon in the house. Yes, we're having fun. And this goes back to the beginning of our story where you were talking about Jenny plays in her kitchen with her family. You don't need a TV. You don't need video games. If you know how to play instruments with your family, having sing-alongs, you watch a lot of black and white movies where the family is gathered around a piano, or maybe they all have their own instruments and they're playing together. And that brings a family together, playing your instruments together. Oh my goodness. You're giving me the feels with all this music talk and how songs are made, how it goes from a thought in your head to in my ears, fully produced. Fantastic.
Well, when you listen to Kiss Me Quiet with Jenny's vocals, D-Ray did this beautiful thing because, of course, Glenn was with us for the first part of the song. So you'll hear that Jenny's voice as the backup is right there in the first part of the song. And then it starts to fade out and it becomes a memory. And then it's there in front again. And then it's a memory and then it's in front again. But, I listen to that song and I don't hear my voice. I don't hear Warren's voice. I hear Jenny's voice and it's in the back of my head and it's over and over and over again. I can hear it. It haunts my head, And so D-Ray did this amazing thing because it was really pretty when it was brought forward, but it actually didn't hit me the same way in the head over and over and over again until it was in the back. And I was listening and I had to strain to hear that ghost of the voice, right? Because, he was there at the beginning of the song and then he went away, and D-Ray's interpretation of the song and how it was written was brilliant. It was sensitive and very appreciative. Every single person on that album and on that song put in their own spin, and BB Lee put in a great guitar track. Unfortunately, it was more meant to have the keys forward, right? But that's okay. He'll get to shine in the sun when we do Chasing Rainbows, because that's all guitar forward, right? So, and it might be that one of the guys sings it right along with me, and I might just do backups on the guy. I don't know. We'll see how that all turns out in the future, right? But I also grew up with a big family musical presence. So my grandfather, my dad's father, played the banjo, he played the organ, and he played the guitar. And so when we'd go camping, we'd always have the sing-along around the fire, right? And at Christmas time, we'd have the organ going, and it would be Christmas carols. My mom's mom, my grandma, I always called her my rock and roll Grammy, and that I already had my Grammy award because she played the piano, and I loved her so much. And during COVID, she came and she lived with me for 6 months, and it was the best time of my life with my grandma. Really, really value that time. And, you look back and you just take advantage of these things. But, at that time in COVID, she was in a retirement home. And a lot of the retirement homes, people were getting locked in and they weren't coming out. And then they didn't live. And then nobody got to see them again. I'm coming to get you.
Yeah.
It said, Grandma, I'm coming to get you. I'm going to pick you up in half an hour. Please be packed. And she came and she stayed with me for 6 months. And I wrote Roaring into the 20s with John. And she got right into it with me. It was really fun. So, she was like, oh, I like that part. I don't like that part. And then John Dean finally came to us and he gave us 2 selections. One was with the honky tonk piano or the boogie woogie piano. And the other one was with a kind of a quartet background for us. And the quartet background, we sat there, Grandma and I, and we listened to it. And we listened to the piano. And we listened to the quartet. And we listened to the piano. And we did this, Grandma and I, we sat there, we listened to the same song over and over and over again for 4 hours.
I love whatever brings a family together, brings your family, your friends together. I mean, I get to do weddings and get-togethers. I get to DJ with them, and I get to be with them at their happiest times. But if you can get your family together, my family is spread all over this country now. You know, I'm from Florida all the way to Walla Walla, Washington. You know, we're all spread out all over the country. And my mom's in Tennessee now. I need to get out and go visit with them. But at least, you know, with this technology, we can call them. We can chat on the phone. We can, you know, see them. But, you know, you having the advantage. Hey, I'm so glad that you brought your grandma over and sang songs and listened to music and just had a good time. You have a great memory. Just listening to you talk about that, watching your face, I could tell it's a beautiful time that you'll remember forever and ever. And I love that for you. And, oh, it's so beautiful talking to you. Tara Kai, you know, I know we
love my family.
Oh, we've spent time chit chatting and hey, here we are again. You're on Rise Up TV now. Not only a client of Big Records, but you're also a member. You know, one of the driving force of Big Records. So I'm bigrecords.world. And are you still involved in the mpkgroup.org as well?
I am. That is agriculture.
Feed the people.
Exactly.
All right. For my loyal listener, if you want to go really in depth in the biochemistry and the food and production stuff like that, listen to that podcast that we did back in September. But I do want to close this thing out. You know, if there anything else you want to tell the people before we get on out of here, Tara Kai?
Well, I would say that the one thing that I'm super grateful for is the way that COVID did change things, and it made it super cool to be social, and it made it super cool to be nice to everyone. And this is the world that I like living in. And I'm super grateful for not only you, Dan Keys, for taking the time to interview me, but I'm also super grateful for everybody that I work with in Big Records, all the artists I get a chance to talk to, all of their experiences, all their songs. They were just such beautiful people, and I'm just so grateful to have that experience to work with them. And of course, my musical team and my family. I love my family very much, and I'm very grateful for everybody that I know. Oh, and don't forget my dog. I love my dog too.
Well, I mean, if everyone at Big Records is working as hard as you've sent me at least a dozen names to get on this podcast, to talk, learn from, to talk with, to find out what makes them tick. Over the last week or two, you've sent me at least a dozen names. So you're working so hard for Big Records. If the rest of the team is working half as hard, all these artists are getting their due, and I'm so happy for them, and I'm happy for you. I want everyone to succeed.
We all work hard.
We have room to succeed. This world is big enough. People need to be entertained, and you don't have to be in a job that you don't want to be in. You could be in a job that you love doing. Yes, every once in a while you got to, hey, bite the bullet. If you've got to put food on your plate or a roof over your head, you got to go do that job that really, maybe you didn't want to do it, but hopefully you get a chance to do something that you love. Tara Kai, you've made that into a profession, into a job. I'm really grateful for you. All right. You've already given shout outs to your bandmates and all the people over at Big Records. And I know this is not going to be the last time that we chat. You come back when you have more stuff to promote. And I see Rocky has already sent me an instant message. He's already confirmed a date coming up in the future. So I'm stoked for that. And I usually don't announce podcasts before they happen. So I won't give a specific date on that one. But, because who knows if things happen, human factor, that kind of thing. But I do want to end this with the last words for the people. This could be words to live by. You've done this before, so you already know. It could be a mantra you wake up with every morning, or whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Tara Kai Maines, give the last words for the people.
The world would be a better place if we all woke up every day and just said, fight that fight with love, not rage, and love each other. Love each other more, love yourself more, because if you don't love yourself, you can't love nobody else. And usually when people are angry or frustrated, it's usually a part within themselves that they see in somebody else. So fight that fight with love, not rage, and you'll always win.
Well, there you have it, party people. Tara Kai Maines. That girl she was busy last time we chatted. just a mere 2 months ago, but she has gotten herself even busier, even busier. I heard a long time ago, idle hands, and that kind of thing. So don't have idle hands. Make sure you keep yourself busy so you stay out of trouble. And I think she's staying out of trouble. If she's as busy as I think she is and busy as she appears to be, she is staying out of trouble. Helping those, not only her own projects with her various bands and types, either solo or with her at least two different bands that we talked about, but also helping other bands get their due, making sure that there's more ears and eyeballs on those bands. So I encourage you to follow Tara Kai Mains, and I know I've pronounced her name 12 different ways, but it's Tara Kai Mains. And I have her various links to tarakaimusic.com right there in the show notes. So make sure you visit that. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, bigrecords.world, and NPNA. If you want to learn about the food and the biochemistry, the stuff that she does, check out the day job at npkgroup.org. So good talking to you, Tara Kai Mains. Once again, that's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, if you, yes, you, my loyal listener, if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's keysdan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.